and we are now at part 2 of 4 for both the pros and cons of the subjective and objective ways of thinking. Now, we are now going to talk about the 3 pros of objectiveness and objective thought. And these 3 are known as progress, level-headedness, and there's a third one I just right at the top of my tongue. I'm going to be right back in a second. Hold on. Confidence, that's the one. So confidence is the third one. So we got progress, level-headedness, and confidence. That is for 3 pros of objectivity and objectiveness, as well as objective thinking and all that. So we're going to talk about those 3 in this next part 2 of 4. So we'll be right back with part 1 of 3 of this video. It's going to be about progress or objectiveness and objective. The progress of objectiveness is something that doesn't come to people as being objective, basically. It's not something that they think of reality when they think of progress. When something is just resulting, it is probably just as pure and exact as it is. So what's the point of saying it's incomplete or moving somewhere in a direction and making its own things work out? Well, let me put it to you this way. When you move in any direction, you're moving from a spot that used to be there, right? You're moving away from something and towards something that you're not already yet at. So that in itself means multiple factors come into play. Somewhere you were, where you're going, the fact that you're moving, and the spaces around all 3, and the spaces in between all 3. There's multiple factors come into things, even philosophically speaking, for subjectiveness regards, which I can get to concept layers in a second. If by the way you haven't seen the previous video, I recommend watching the part 1 of 4. If it's on the same channel, just look it up later. But I'll look if I can. But the progress that comes from objectiveness is more of a confidence, well, level-headedness. It's more of knowing that any step you make along the way adds to the journey. You're not having to only worry about having everything you think you need or want, if even that's subjective. Being objective means being okay with what you already have and being okay with what you would presume to be actually real. And it's a shame that so many people actually want to believe that they have answers to things that they don't even need to solve. They don't have to already have a certain standard for when they will have their happiness or when they'll have their lives in order. It doesn't have to always be perpetually inactive or not always attained for that matter. Some people have gone to that with their own YouTube videos and content, but I digress from that. The honest truth is that progress does matter. Progress can even still be objective, if even that's not implied in this part of the video. And that's all I got for that. Progress of objective. Level-headedness of objective. The whole thing that comes with clarity, even on par with clarity and conciseness, you want to be someone who isn't only thinking about everything that exists at the same time. I mean, I know one of my own virtues was to care about everything that existed and to give everything a chance to exist, per se, but the level-headedness that comes with objective is more like you don't look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't, but who knows? Oh, it's subjective, possibly. I've been given the comment before that I've been level-headed. I've been given the comment before that I was more real than people who thought I wasn't. But even that's been a thing. But believe me. But it's just when you're level-headed, you have a clear mind, peace of mind. You don't have to worry about everything all the time. That in itself can be a form of objectiveness. And if you don't agree with me, think about everything that you've hyper-focused on that may or may not have been important, that may or may not have been it's a so-called literal priority or chosen priority there. And you don't have to think of that level-headedness as only being peaceful or only being unchallenged or only being non-entertaining or non-boredom or non-philosophy. Not having to worry about things that don't have to be a problem for you, which is basically what I'm going to try to get with this. I didn't use the right terminology to explain that well, whatever. But it's just, be level-headed for once. I'm sorry I said that rude. Try to make sure that you try it when you know that you can, which is pretty much any time given, if necessarily speaking. The reason I believe level-headedness is objective is because, in a nutshell, you are making a center core foundation and square one centerpiece for being able to be who you are in the moment without worrying about anything else. That is all. Confidence from objectivity. Objectivity. Confidence from objectivity. So, anyone who has ever said the quote, confidence breeds or builds competence and vice versa, competence breeds or builds confidence, they're right for the long run, unfortunately, if you don't agree with them, because there's truth to what they're saying. When they say that you had to prove what you already gained from and learned to be better about positively, when you're only a better positive person because of what you resulted provenly, and you prove to be confident because you're not only making things resulting, you're also living in the moment maybe, the balance is probably the point at this rate. If you can still be level with yourself and love yourself, whether or not you have results, but hopefully you have the results, then you'll have some form of thing going on with that. So the confidence does not just come with competence, but there is like confidence alone isn't enough, but you do want to have some form of confidence. That's basically the thing. I could end it right there right away if I wanted to, but the only thing I wanted to add was that as an example, say there are two things that get manipulated the most in the society, because they're the easiest energies to misunderstand. Money and love. Let's say your goal was, and they influence each other in ways we don't understand even then. They influence each other in really drastic and interconnected ways. Let's say your goal was to make $600,000 a year, and you don't care jack squat about romance and dating, relationships and sex and all that. Whatever, sexual markers, whatever. You don't care anything about jack squat about that, but you do want to make $600,000 a year. Let's say you make a relationship work in the road to that 600K, and you're like, well, why did I get the relationship first? I wanted to make the money count. And it's like, well, let me put it to you this way. Think about the guy who does not have the relationship that they want, but they have the money. Do you want to be in their shoes, or would you rather put it in terms that you at least have something? And that's where the competence and confidence comes in. You don't want to only have the results, but you do want to have something, and you do want to have some form of confidence with or without the results. Hopefully you have both. That may not have been the most interconnected example who these are working, but there you go. If you have confidence, it's because you proved that you could, at some point, hopefully in the timeline we're in, you could attain things literally that you had objectively. But the confidence that comes with it is also too objective, because you make it something that derives from that competence, and as well as makes it something that you'll maintain with or without being nudged or insisted in the wrong direction just because you only relied on the competence. But for the record, they're both important. It just depends on the balance at this point, I think. People misunderstand the idea of competence too much. They even misunderstand confidence, actually. The cliche is to misunderstand confidence, because confidence isn't enough. And it's not even usually even the point sometimes. But you do want to have at least some form of being true to your word with confidence, and being true to what you believe in with confidence. And that both of those, not too much logic for objectiveness, not too much emotion or morality, compasses, or what have you with subjectiveness. You want to be just the right amount of logic, emotion, and morality. And we'll get into more of subjective and objective cons in the next video. But for now, take care, guys. This is part 2 of 4 of the pros and cons of both objective and subjective. Take care.